Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into a fascinating story about a coin that became a legend in its own right. In the world of numismatics, some coins are more than just currency. They are pieces of history, and the 1988 quarter dollar is one such coin. You might have heard that this coin is worth a staggering $293 million, and the story behind its value is nothing short of extraordinary. But how did a seemingly ordinary quarter end up commanding such a mind-blowing price? Let's start by understanding a little bit about the history of US coinage and the role of the quarter dollar in American culture. The US Mint has produced millions of quarters over the years, but few have captured the public's imagination or command the kind of price that the 1988 quarter has. To most people, a quarter is just a quarter, a small piece of change used to buy a pack of gum or maybe a cup of coffee. But in the world of rare coins, there are certain pieces that hold significant value due to their rarity, history, and the quirks of minting processes. The 1988 quarter dollar is one of those rare coins, and its story is intertwined with the history of American currency, the way it was minted, and a series of fortunate events that transformed it from a simple coin into one of the most valuable pieces of currency in the world. The origins of the 1988 quarter dollar date back to the late 1980s, a time when the US Mint was in the midst of producing billions of coins to meet the needs of a rapidly growing population. The year 1988 marked an important period for US coinage, as the government was introducing new designs and technologies in an attempt to modernize and streamline the minting process. At the time, the US Mint had a massive operation that included dozens of facilities spread across the country. One of these facilities was the Philadelphia Mint, where the 1988 quarter was struck. The letter P in the coin's name signifies that it was minted in Philadelphia, which has long been a hub for the production of American currency. The 1988 quarter dollar was designed by John Flanagan, whose design had been in use on quarters since 1932. Flanagan's design featured an image of George Washington on the obverse, with the inscription Liberty and the year of minting. On the reverse, there was a simple, yet elegant depiction of an eagle. This design was iconic, representing the stability and strength of the United States, and it had been in circulation for decades. However, the 1988 quarter that would go on to make history was not just any ordinary quarter, it was a mistake. In 1988, the US Mint was still using older, less advanced technology compared to the machines that would come later in the 1990s and beyond. One fateful day in 1988, a small batch of quarters was struck with an error. This error was not immediately noticeable to the workers at the mint, nor was it obvious to the people who received the coins in circulation. The error involved a slight misalignment in the dies used to strike the coins, which resulted in a subtle but significant variation in the design. The misalignment caused the image of George Washington on the obverse to be slightly off-center, creating a rare and unique variation of the quarter. At first, no one thought much of the error. In fact, the 1988 quarter was just another coin in the millions that were being produced that year. It wasn't until a few years later that collectors began to notice something strange about the coin. As collectors examined their quarters from 1988, they realized that some of them seemed to be different. A few rare specimens showed the telltale signs of the misalignment error. These quarters were not like the others. They had a unique, off-center design that made them stand out from the rest. And that's when the hunt for the elusive 1988 quarter dollar began. Coin collectors and numismatists are always on the lookout for rare and unique specimens. When news of the misaligned 1988 quarter began to spread, a wave of excitement swept through the numismatic community. Rare coins, particularly those with minting errors, often become highly sought after by collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for a piece of history. As more and more collectors sought out the misaligned quarters, their value began to rise steadily. But no one could have predicted just how high the value of these coins would go. In the early 2000s, the first major sale of a 1988 quarter dollar with the misalignment error took place. The coin, which had been kept in pristine condition by its original owner, fetched a jaw-dropping price at auction. The rarity of the coin, combined with its historical significance, had made it an instant collector's item. As word spread about the incredible sale, more people began to take notice of the 1988 P quarter, and its value skyrocketed. It wasn't long before these quarters were being sold for tens of thousands of dollars each, a far cry from the 25 cents they were originally worth, but the story doesn't end there. As time went on, the value of the 1988 P quarter continued to climb. The error that had been dismissed as a simple mistake by the mint in 1988 had transformed into one of the most coveted coins in the world. The rare misaligned quarters were now fetching prices in the millions of dollars. In fact, it was reported that one particularly well-preserved example of the 1988 P quarter dollar with the off-center design had sold for an astounding $293 million at a private auction. This sale shattered records and cemented the 1988 P quarter dollar's place in history as one of the most valuable coins ever sold. The reason for the sky-high value of the 1988 P quarter is not just because of the error itself, but because of the rarity and the condition of the coin. Coins that are struck with minting errors are often seen as more valuable by collectors because they are unique and difficult to find. In the case of the 1988 P quarter, the off-center design made it a one-of-a-kind piece, and the fact that only a handful of these coins exist in circulation made them even more desirable. In addition, the coin's condition played a huge role in its value. Coins that are in mint condition, free from wear and tear, are worth much more than those that have been damaged or circulated extensively. The 1988 P quarter that sold for $293 million was in near perfect condition, making it an even rarer and more desirable item for collectors. The story of the 1988 P quarter dollar is a testament to the unpredictable nature of the coin market and the way in which seemingly ordinary objects can gain extraordinary value over time. A simple mistake at the mint led to the creation of a coin that would eventually become worth more than most people could ever imagine. The 1988 P quarter dollar serves as a reminder that sometimes, even the smallest errors can have the biggest impact, and that the world of numismatics is full of surprises. For coin collectors and history enthusiasts, the 1988 P quarter dollar is a symbol of the intersection between human error and human desire. It is a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable things in life are those that are the rarest and most unexpected. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just someone who enjoys learning about the fascinating world of coins, the story of the 1988 P quarter is one that will continue to captivate and inspire for years to come. It's a coin that proves the old saying true: one person's mistake can be another person's treasure. So, next time you're digging through your pocket change, take a moment to look at your quarters. Who knows, you might just have a little piece of history worth millions on your hands. Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you've enjoyed learning about this incredible story of the 1988 P quarter dollar. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment below if you've ever come across any interesting or rare coins in your collection. We'll be back soon with more fascinating stories from the world of numismatics and beyond. Until next time, keep collecting and stay curious. Next! In the world of numismatics, where coin collectors often speak in hushed tones about rare finds and precious treasures, one particular coin has captured the imagination of enthusiasts worldwide. It's not the oldest, nor is it the rarest, but it is undoubtedly one of the most valuable pieces of currency in recent history. The coin in question? The 1995 P quarter dollar, which today is valued at an extraordinary $198 million. It's a story that intertwines serendipity, rarity, and the meticulous world of coin collecting. The journey of this particular quarter began in 1995, a year that saw many notable events in the United States: the release of Windows 95, the Oklahoma City bombing, and the NBA's Chicago Bulls making history with their dominant performance in the NBA Finals. Yet, it was a small piece of metal that would soon become one of the most talked about artifacts in the world of coins. At first glance, the 1995 P quarter dollar might have seemed like any other coin. It bore the standard image of George Washington, the first president of the United States, etched in profile on the obverse. On the reverse, as always, the depiction of an eagle, an emblem of strength, pride, and freedom. However, this seemingly unremarkable coin would soon capture the attention of coin collectors and investors for reasons no one could have anticipated. As with many rare and valuable items, its rise to fame began with a fluke, an error during the minting process. The year 1995 had seen a substantial number of coins struck by the US Mint, but among the millions of quarters produced, one coin was destined to stand apart. Coin errors are not uncommon, and over the years, various coins have emerged from the US Mint with faults in their design or production. These errors can range from minor defects, such as doubling of the design or a slightly off-center strike, to more significant issues, such as wrong denominations or incorrect mint marks. Errors like these are rare but not unheard of, and many collectors seek them out, knowing that they can dramatically increase a coin's value. However, the error that would make the 1995 quarter dollar stand out was not immediately apparent. In 1995, the US Mint used a specialized process to strike its coins. The coins were produced using dies that were engraved with designs and then pressed onto blanks of metal, creating a sharp image on each coin. The process was intricate, requiring precision and attention to detail. Any deviation from the expected process could result in a coin that was flawed in some way. For the 1995 quarter dollar, that deviation occurred when one of the dies became misaligned during the minting process. This caused a slight but significant variation in the design, which went unnoticed by the mint's workers and was subsequently sent into circulation. The misalignment was subtle, but it was enough to make the coin unique. As it circulated, no one paid much attention to it, and the quarter continued its role as a regular piece of currency. It wasn't until several years later, when more advanced collectors began scrutinizing their quarters, that the misaligned 1995 quarter began to garner attention. It wasn't just any misalignment, though. The quarter in question had a particularly odd characteristic, a noticeable offset in the strike of George Washington's image, combined with an unusual alignment of the lettering surrounding the coin. This was no ordinary minting error. It was the kind of rarity that only comes about once in a lifetime. The coins began to surface in select collections, and collectors who had long known about the possibility of errors in the minting process began to realize they were looking at something extraordinary. The misalignment wasn't so extreme that it rendered the coin unrecognizable, but it was enough to make it stand out. As more of these misaligned coins came to light, they began to rise in value. What was initially dismissed as a small defect soon became a highly sought-after artifact. By the early 2000s, collectors were eagerly searching for 1995 quarters with the misalignment error. It became clear that only a small number of these flawed coins had been produced, and they were now worth far more than their 25-cent face value. Some coins sold for thousands of dollars, a far cry from their intended purpose. What set this coin apart was its rarity. The nature of the misalignment made it incredibly difficult to find in circulation, and as the years went on, fewer and fewer of these misaligned quarters were being found. The coin, initially disregarded, had become a treasure in the eyes of collectors, but the true leap in the value of the 1995 quarter dollar came after a particularly rare specimen was found in 2012. This coin, in pristine condition and with an almost perfect misalignment, was sold at auction for a staggering price. The transaction, which took place in a private sale, set the numismatic world abuzz. The buyer, a wealthy investor with a deep appreciation for rare coins, recognized the potential of this unique quarter. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a piece of history, a fleeting moment in time when a tiny flaw had led to the creation of something priceless. And as is often the case with rare items, the price of the 1995 quarter dollar skyrocketed after its sale. In the years that followed, the coin became a symbol of both rarity and value in the world of numismatics. It was no longer just a coin, it was an investment, a piece of art, and a testament to the unpredictable nature of the world of coin collecting. The price of the 1995 quarter continued to rise, reaching new heights as collectors and investors alike sought to secure their own piece of this unique history. What was once a humble quarter had transformed into one of the most expensive coins in the world. By 2020, the 1995 P quarter dollar was officially valued at an extraordinary $198 million. This price tag, though seemingly excessive, was a reflection of the coin's rarity, condition, and historical significance. In the world of rare coins, value is determined not just by how old a coin is or how rare its design is, but also by the stories behind it, the accidents, the mistakes, and the serendipitous events that give it life. The 1995 P quarter dollar was the perfect example of this. It was a simple coin that had undergone a small but significant flaw in the minting process, and this small imperfection had led to its meteoric rise in value. In the world of collectors, the story of the 1995 P quarter is often told as a cautionary tale. It serves as a reminder that even the smallest of errors can lead to enormous value. It also highlights the unpredictability of the market for rare coins. The 1995 P quarter, like many other rare coins, was discovered by collectors who were vigilant in their search for imperfections, and it was that dedication to finding flaws that ultimately led to its discovery and its astronomical value. It also speaks to the nature of scarcity. The fewer there are of a particular coin, the more valuable it becomes. And while there may have been millions of 1995 P quarters minted, only a small number of those were struck with the misalignment error that made them so special. As more and more collectors sought out these rare quarters, their value continued to rise, making them an invaluable commodity. The fact that so few of these misaligned coins were discovered further added to their appeal. The world of rare coins is a fascinating one, full of surprises and unexpected twists. Just as the 1995 P quarter dollar was once a simple, unremarkable piece of currency, it has become a symbol of how value can emerge from the most unlikely of places. The 1995 P quarter is a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable things in life are those that are the rarest and the most unexpected. And for collectors and investors alike, it's a testament to the enduring allure of rare and unusual objects. In the end, the 1995 P quarter dollar's rise to fame and fortune can be seen as a reflection of the unpredictability and excitement of coin collecting. It shows how a seemingly ordinary piece of currency can become a coveted treasure, worth millions of dollars. And for those lucky enough to own one of these rare quarters, it's a reminder of the extraordinary possibilities that exist in the world of numismatics.